Pam at Cranberry Cottage. Sorry for the dogs barking. My little alert dog hears everything and barks. Today I am going to show you how to spray Sweet Pickins Milk Paint with a critter sprayer. I pulled a couple of things out of the storage shed that I want to get sprayed for the house. And so if you give me just a couple of minutes, I'll get set up and we'll get started. Okay, so I know some of you are probably freaking out that I'm going to be painting this piece. But sorry guys, I'm painting it. I think it'll look better painted. It's been cleaned. I actually cleaned it a couple of weeks ago with some Dawn dishwashing detergent, TSP, and then I let it dry. And then I took and I actually painted this with some shellac because this is an older piece. The shellac is actually a barrier, so it does not allow the tannins from the wood to come up through and stain your paint. Once in a while when you're using light colored paints, you'll see some dark brown streaks in it. Well, that's from the tannins coming up in these older antiques. So if you use a coat of shellac or 2 coats of shellac, that causes a barrier between the wood and the paint and does not allow that to happen. I mean, you can use other products as well, but the shellac is what I use. So, sorry about the jet noise, but we're close to the flight path for the jets, and they are flying over. All right, guys, we'll move to the next step. Okay, guys, so we're going to be using Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. We carry this product down at the store. I love this milk paint. It can be a tad bit unpredictable. Sometimes you get a lot of chips, sometimes you don't get any chip. And then I've had some pieces where I've had to totally repaint the piece because it chips so much that all the paint comes off. Sometimes with that it's because there's a contaminant on the surface. So you have to be, careful how you prepare your surface. I absolutely love milk paint. It's an amazing product. But today we're going to be spraying it with what I use is a critter sprayer. It's a very cool little sprayer. You can get them on Amazon for about 50 bucks. The paint goes in this little mason jar and then it's sucked up. You attach it to your compressor, and I think I run it about, 40, 45 PSI. I'd have to double check that. The only thing that I do is I mix up the milk paint, and you mix milk paint 1-to-1, 1 part paint, 1 part warm water, and you stir, 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 or shake, shake, shake. And then once you think you've got it stirred up enough, then you do it a whole bunch more. But before I put it in here, I strain it through a paint screen. Sometimes milk paint can have granules, even as much as you stir it or shake it. Sometimes those granules will not dissolve. And so with the sprayer, you have to run it through a paint screen just to make sure that it's just paint down into the jar. It goes on really, really good. I absolutely love to spray furniture, especially my first coats with milk paint or chalk paint. This critter sprayer will work for chalk paint also. I mix, it just depends on how I feel that day. Sometimes it's 2-to-1, sometimes it's 3-to-1. So 2 parts water to 1 part paint, or 3 parts water to 1 part paint. Just depends on the look that I'm looking for. But if you're going to really, be doing a lot of furniture painting, etc., and you want to save some time by spraying on the first coat, and I do that sometimes. It depends on the look that I'm looking for. It's fast, it's easy. You get that first main coat on, and then I can go back and do all of my art stuff on the furniture and just keep adding different colored paints. So give me a few minutes and I'll show you what I do with the milk paint as far as mixing it, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay guys, so we're back. So I have my Bluebird. I just opened it up, and as you can see, it's a powder form. Milk paint is in a powder form. If you come across milk paint that is blended in a can with water, it is not true milk paint. So don't even waste your money. You want to buy milk paint that is in powdered form. I don't care what brand it is, but that's what you want to do. Okay, so I have a mason jar here, and this is what I use. Sometimes I'll put it in one of those paint cups you can pick up at the hardware store also, and I'll use an emulsifying blender, but I like to just put it into a glass mason jar with the water and shake it up. So we're going to mix up 1/4 of a cup, and it doesn't have to be exact, and yes, I'm going to make a mess. That's just how I am. Okay, that's pretty close to 1/4 cup. If you want a little bit more, add a little bit more. If you don't, don't. I'm not going to waste this, so I'm going to stick this in here. Okay, so I'm going to pour that into my jar. Then I've got my water here, and I'm just going to dip into here because it's easier that way. You can pour into your measuring cup. Yes, I know this is for dry goods, but you know, it works pretty good. I'm going to add 2 because it's 2 to 1. Remember, this is warm water. I may add just a little bit more just because I feel like it. All right, and I put the lid on it and I start shaking it. Now it's going to foam up a little bit, and that's okay, but you just want to make sure that you shake, 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 shake. And when you think you've shaken enough, shake some more, because milk paint takes a little bit to mix up. Isn't this a beautiful color? This color is called Bluebird, and I love this farmhouse blue. Okay, let's take a look. Now, can you see on this lid the little granules that are in the paint? When you're painting with a brush, that really doesn't affect your painting because you will be sanding after you get done. But when I'm spraying, I would like to have this mixed up a little bit better. Only mix up what you can use. Milk paint doesn't stay. You can keep it for a couple days in the refrigerator, but it will get gelled up. If you leave it out for a couple of hours just out at room temperature, it will gel up and become a jelly-like substance. Okay, so can you see down inside of there? It's pretty foamy. So I'm going to let this set for a couple of minutes. And then when we come back, we're going to strain it through some cheesecloth because I don't have a paint strainer here. And then we'll get going with the next step. Okay guys, so we're back. And I've unscrewed the mason jar from the critter sprayer. And I've taken some cheesecloth. I don't have a paint strainer here at the house. I thought I did, but I don't. And so I'm using some cheesecloth. I'm just using a single layer of cheesecloth. And I'm going to take this milk paint and I'm going to strain it through the cheesecloth layer. Now you can see there's quite a bit of foam left in there. So this will, if we let it set, This will work down to be just regular paint. So now, as you can see, we have the strained milk paint that is about 2.5 to 3 to 1. Okay, you just take your critter sprayer. Make sure that you put your filter, or not your filter, but your gasket there. Swing this down and screw it on. Then we'll take this out and we'll spray. Okay, give me a minute. Alright guys, so we're back. Sorry about the compressor running, but it has to be. So now I'm just spraying the piece. Okay guys, so we're spraying a second coat. Now I've got a drift right here, but I am not worried about that drift. I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll see where we're at, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so it's getting late in the day, but as you can see, milk paint is famous for the chipping, and as you can see right here, we've got the chipping going on. As it's drying, it is chipping. Now, I had a drip that was right here, and I wasn't worried about that because I knew that as soon as I put another coat of paint on it, it would feather out and it looks amazing. So we're starting to get chipping everywhere. Sorry about all the shadows, you guys. It is getting later in the day. So we'll continue to let this dry. And then we'll see how much chipping we get. If I don't get as much chipping as I would like, then what I will do is I will mist it with fine mist sprayer, let it reactivate, and then that usually makes it crackle and re-chip. Okay guys, so I brought this piece in to dry. Overnight it was getting a little bit chilly out there and it still hadn't completed its drying process. But look at this chippy goodness that's already started. I am loving it. Love it. I know some of you are having a heart attack because I painted this, but to tell you, it's doing exactly as I thought it would. And you can see with milk paint, like here, as it dries, it starts cracking and lifting, and that causes the chippiness. You can see it here on the edge of this. There's pieces here that are lifting. So in the morning, I'll be able to come back in tonight, or in the morning, I'm sorry, not tonight. And then I can take a sanding pad to it, knock off all of this raised stuff. You want to make sure that you get all of the raised areas off. Then I can use Sweet Pickins' oil waxes to antique it and make it look a little bit old. And then I may even splatter it a little bit with some little black dots to make it look like fly specks to make it look old. And you know me, I could add a little bit of something else to it. But for now, we're going to let this piece dry, and then we'll start first thing in the morning on it. All right, guys, so it is the morning, and I'm back at it early today because I have a bunch of stuff I need to get done for the shop. As you can see, this has really chipped, and I have started working on this. So I have a couple of things here. I've got just a regular little Scotch-Brite pad. I've got a real fine sanding pad, and then I've got a 220 disc. I just grabbed something out of my sandpaper stash. And you can see that all of this chipping has started, and you can basically just kind of rub it off with your fingers. But the good thing about it is that you just take your sanding pad or your Scotch-Brite pad and you just start knocking it off. And you want to make sure that you get off all of the loose. And this is doing exactly as I was hoping it would do. Get in the little nooks and crannies. Knock off all of those pieces. And for me, I will go back with a 220 grit sanding pad, and I'll just hit some of these high areas and just knock off some of the paint. I'm not going to take it down a whole lot because I don't want to get that artificial look that I see a lot of people do, where you just take a sander and you sand everything and you knock off some ridges and that. I don't like that. That's why I do a lot of hand sanding. And I'll just knock off a little bit as I go. Make it look natural. We'll grab a brush and we'll brush this away. If I was outside, I'd just take my compressor and blow this off. And look how wonderful that looks. You can see that. This looks like it's been sitting out forever, and it's just been chipping. The paint is coming off because it's all weathered. When you're sanding, use a light touch. You know, methodically think about where you're putting your distressing. I see a lot of this furniture at Vintage Market, and it's great, and people do a fantastic job, but to me it just looks forced. It looks like they've taken a sander after they've painted it and just made it look rough. For me, I like to really methodically take a look at where the highs and the lows are, where the paint's going to wear off, where it's not going to wear off, and hand sand it down a little bit. Make it look a little more realistic. When you use an orbital sander, and don't get me wrong, I use orbital sanders to sand back paint. But on a piece like this, I love to do it by hand because it makes it look more realistic. Alright guys, well that's all there is to the sanding part of it. You just want to make sure that you sand down, smooth out, and get all of these little rough edges that have lifted, because once you put your sealer on it, if they're not up, it will continue to lift. So I just go through and make sure I've got everything knocked off. This little section here last night really started chipping, so I'll just take my sandpaper and go over it. Make sure I can get it all off of there. And some of it acts like it's really stuck, then I'll leave it on there because I like the cracks looking at that. And after I get done here, I'll take this out and blow it off with my air compressor. But isn't that amazing? I mean, it is just, love this technique. Love this paint. Alright guys, so I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me sand this all down. I'm going to get this done, blow it off, and then I'll show you how to apply the oil wax and take it off. I may even add some fine grit into some of these to give it a little bit more of a distressed look. And then I think we'll be done. Okay guys, so I'm outdoors of my studio. It's such a beautiful day today. Oh my goodness. And this does have a little bit of a smell to it, so I thought maybe it'd be better to do it outside. So I am using Sweet Pickins oil wax, and this is the dark. It comes in clear, black, dark, and white. I like the dark because it gives it kind of that primitive, old, grungy look with not overdoing it. All you got to do is just shake it up. Make sure it's shook up real good, and then I pour it into a bowl. I use a cheap dollar store brush to put this on, and because you're going to need, unless you want to clean it with mineral spirits, these are throwaways, or I'll put them in a baggie and keep them. So I also use some gloves because I'm really bad about getting stains on my hands, and my husband doesn't think that's very good. So I'm trying to be better about using the gloves. Okay. See if I can get the lid off of this thing. It's been shook up real good. I just pour a little bit here. It's pretty thick. It doesn't take a whole lot. We'll try that for now. And all you do is you take and then start painting it on the piece. Now they say you can let this set on your projects for 5 minutes or so, but as soon as I get a section done, I will wipe it off because I don't want too dark of a color. I don't want it too grungy. And just tap it into all of the little nooks and crannies. Make sure you get it on all of the edges. Then I have these old flour sack towels that after a while they get grungy in the house, so I just bring them out here and use them out here. So then I just take and I start wiping everything off. Now this stuff is great. It's waterproof. It will dry within 24 hours and it cures hard within 30 days. And as you can see, it kind of gives it that grungy, aged look. I absolutely love it. Now you can see here the difference between the two colors. My helper just showed up. Lexi's in the house. Get down in these little cracks and crevices, and it's okay for some of this to be kind of cuddled up in the sides there. Just kind of gives it character. And I will even go back with some dark wax, paste wax, and go into some of these little areas and maybe add a little bit of extra in there just to give it that look. Brush it on. Make sure you get it in all the little areas. Dogs are attacking the grandkids. Set this aside. And then just wipe it back. This is a really amazing product, so easy to use. If you want it darker, then leave it on for a little bit longer. I don't particularly like a really super dark look on some of this, but I do want it to look like it's been there for a little while. And you just keep wiping it back till you get the desired effect that you want. Got bristle in there that we need to get out. Got it. And I may even go get a screwdriver, just a straight blade, so that I can insert it into my towel here and then get into these really super tight areas. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. That's just part of the natural look of a piece that's old. Alright guys, so this is using Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. I'm going to do this whole project and then I'll show you what it looks like after I'm done. Okay guys, so here's the finished piece. I'm going to let this set for half a day and then I'm going to decide if it needs anything else. But I took some dark wax and went in around the edges, a little bit in the corners. Oh, I just can't wait to get this hung up in my house. Such a beautiful piece, and I love it so much better painted than unpainted. And I know some of you will disagree with me, but guess what? It's my piece, so I painted it. Alright guys, I hope this tutorial helps you with milk paint. And if you have any questions, just put it in the comments below. Also, please subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so when we put up new videos, it notifies you when they're there. Have a great day.